was going to read this very political piece. I wanted to write a very political piece in an essay about the Trump voter and willful ignorance and my own family in Boston, but then I got really nostalgic about Florida, and I decided instead to do some pieces on weird Florida news from the last month. But I don't know if you guys have you ever just tried to find weird Florida news? I don't know how Carl Hyacin whittles it down, because there's so much. And so I had seen a piece about someone dropping an alligator in a convenience store, and I was like, I'm gonna write about that. And then when I went to find it, there were multiple pieces about someone dropping an alligator in a convenience store in the last 30 days, which is troubling. So the title of this piece is Gator Stories Are an Endless Rabbit Hole. So, an alligator was abandoned in a convenience store at 2 a.m. in Manatee County. Is that the right word, abandoned? The article is light on detail and vocabulary. It was an hour before they removed it from the store, but there is no mention of what it did with its hour. The news smells almost brackish in their mixings, the fecund possibility of Doritos one shelf over from motor oil. The hot dogs turning in their grease, the ozone wheeze of scent from the air conditioner. Did it wander the aisles, the strange slick tile under its feet, run its tongue against the cool drippings from the Slurpee machine? For all the disparate flavors of the slump, it would lack this gritty sweetness. It says the trapper released the gator somewhere safe, but what were the following days like? Lifting its eyes from the water, the landscape rendered uniform. Well, 2 counties over, one of its fellows was taken on a beer run into a cooler, another tossed through a drive-through window. Did it feel displaced, almost abandoned? So it's important to note that you should picture this in a 7-Eleven. However, it was a Wawa, which kind of ruins the image, because you want to picture it kind of gross and 7-Eleven-y, and Wawa's too shiny and open for this story. So anyway, it was a teenager. He's facing charges. The guy who took the gator on a beer run ran in with a 5-foot gator into a cooler, grabbed beer, and ran out. And he faces 5 years of jail time, and the beer was Bush, which, that makes it a sad 5 years of jail time.
I was just about to ask what kind of beer, but in the back of my head, I was like, do I really do that?
But it's an important detail. Bush. So then I was trying to find non-alligator related stories, so I just Googled Florida warnings. And I came up with a headline that said, the biggest threat to Florida. Guess what it is?
Georgia.
Nope.
Rick Scott!
You would think, but no. Anyone else?
Algae bloom?
I thought that was going to be what it was, but no, it was foreign termites. Foreign termites. They're
Still without the
Asian termites. I didn't hear that. So, this is called transference. The first indication was piles of wings on the floor, small petals at first glance until the membrane became visible, a structure that carried something before outliving its use and dropped to dry. You told me not to worry as you swept the broom over the floor in careful precision, the wings swirling in your path. They were a temporary danger, not something that stayed nesting in rafters, making lace of support beams. For weeks, I forgot the detritus, even the possibility of flight, until the air thickened with swarms at dusk, and wings coated your things like snow, not just the Astor television, but the crock-pot, socks, and underwear, a book I'd given you to read, the pages crisp and amused. And you didn't answer when I asked how much has to be shed before it becomes dangerous. No one swept the floor anymore, and I threw away whole bottles of shampoo and canisters of deodorant, and wings-made miniature mountain ranges in the corners, while I considered problems that require fumigation, solutions that trap the memory of lives lived within the walls.
Wow.
My mother once told me I have the ability to transmute the lightest topic into something depressing. I don't think it was a compliment.
You should take it as one.
I know. So this last piece is, I don't know if anyone heard about this guy in like a really low budget like radio station, and like the signal doesn't go beyond US1, who's selling what he says is the bell from one of Christopher Columbus's ship for $5 to $6 million. And if you Google it, it's like just send an email to like bob@radio.com with your bid. And so that's interesting. So the title actually comes from what was actually in a ship's manifest. There's some questions. Signo de Via Navidad. On Key Biscayne, a low-budget radio station is selling the bell of Columbus's ship, Santa Maria, for $5 million. The provenance is in question. Found at the site of a wreck off the coast of Portugal, though the Santa Maria never left Haitian waters, the ship ran aground on Christmas Eve while being manned by the cabin boy, Columbus, asleep in his bunk. Florida is an odd but appropriate site for this shady sail, this place of so many sunken ships, so many cobbled together craft, not the Nina or the Pinta or the Santa Maria, but the leftover bits of whatever came to hand, and the anything that floats, and that we might not make it, but we are going anyway. When asked about authenticity, the seller said, no one now was around 550 years ago, so who cares what the experts say? After the Santa Maria ran aground, the other ships only had room for the great explorer and plunderer, and a few others, 39 men left behind, told to take the wreckage and build a fort, La Navidad. When later ships came in search of gold, there was no sign of those not enough room souls, except for how, perhaps for this doubtful artifact, greened with age, its shape pitted and warped by decades in the salted wet, a barnacled bit of history, a question given physical form.